what's at issue with this Supreme Court case is whether or not it's legal to have this censorship laundering apparatus. And what the Biden administration is arguing is that the First Amendment did not anticipate social media, and that the First Amendment, as it's classically interpreted, can no longer hold. They're essentially making the argument they make with the Second Amendment that yes, the Second Amendment may have anticipated muskets, but it didn't anticipate, these high-powered rifle type things. And so the Second Amendment doesn't really apply to these high-powered, automatic weapons. They're making that argument about social media, that the social media has overwhelmed the First Amendment, and the government needs to be able to essentially have a control mechanism over the spread of misinformation online. And the issue is if they succeed in that argument, the First Amendment is legitimately dead in this country. If there is not a constitutional check on this power, you will never have a free election in this country again.
So basically, Biden or Murthy, they're claiming that it would be just absolute anarchy. We'll have a situation where there'll be just fake news, disinformation, people just run around believing in things that are, bad and dangerous. What does Missouri claim, and why is it Missouri?
Well, because it was the state attorney general's office of Missouri and Louisiana. It was essentially an alliance of two state attorney general's offices arguing against the federal censorship structure of the federal government. So this is essentially a federalism issue. These are state attorney generals who essentially brought this suit, and there's a number of plaintiffs who are involved in this. The case initially started around COVID censorship, and the White House censorship of COVID-19, and then basically everything that was unveiled, both from my work through the Foundation for Freedom Online and through things like the Twitter files, the much larger superstructure of this whole of society apparatus, turned up, and the case expanded from being simply about federal censorship of COVID to being about federal censorship of every sensitive policy issue. Because once they got away with it for the 2020 election and COVID, they expanded this to climate, they expanded this to abortion, they expanded this to immigration, they expanded this to Ukraine. Any dissident voice on any sensitive culture policy issue, it was deemed to be an attack on critical infrastructure if you expressed misinformation online about it.
When you say they, is it Democrats, Republicans?
It is the empire rather than the homeland. It is the peoples whose jobs are in the managerial class of our international relations rather than those whose are the domestic priorities of people of the homeland. So this is a much bigger issue than Democrats versus Republicans.